Welcome back, guys. How's it going? So today we're going to be doing what should the Knicks do in the draft. It's been a while. It's been a little bit. Definitely like, share, subscribe. I know you guys have been following, and the channel's been growing. So thanks for that. We appreciate it. But today we got the talented Mr. Taco really giving us a little bit of perspective as to what he thinks the Knicks are going to do. I mean, two big Knicks fans here. So what do you think, Taco? What do you think is going to happen on the draft?
I think this draft is going to be really interesting, and this draft is really going to have a lot of different variables that could really alter what the Knicks decide to do with this pick in the draft. Basically, from what everyone or from what I'm hearing, in the draft is that at number one, Minnesota is playing it very fluid. They originally tied to a guy like Anthony Edwards, but now there's also rumors that they like James Wiseman. There's rumors that the Charlotte Hornets might trade up at 3 to get a guy like Wiseman, which definitely will change the kind of prospects that you're seeing coming off the board in a certain order. Because the Hornets right now they're looking for a big man. Now the question is, are they going to trade up with Minnesota to get the big man of Wiseman, or are they going to stay where they are and take a guy like Onyeka Okongwu from USC, who originally was someone that we would see around that 7 to 10 range, right where the Knicks are picking at 8. So he was someone that before the Knicks might have had a shot at. 6'9" center, he could shoot the ball. He could play a small ball 5. He could play a regular 4. Kid has a lot of great upside. He's athletic. He can shoot. He was a guy that.
What do you think, though, the piece that, whether it's on this draft or in trade or in free agency, obviously we're focusing on the draft here, but what do you think that piece that we're missing really as a Knick fan that you think we'll be able to go out and get on draft night?
Well, see, that's the thing. I feel as though there's a lot of needs for the team. So I'm not going to sit out there and be like, I'm just going to like, we need a point guard, but we also just need more talent overall. And that's why I was phrasing it like this, because Okongwu, to me, if he's there with the Knicks pick, we have to take him. But this guy has catapulted now during this pre-draft workout. He's gone from going around 7 to 10 to now he's looking like he's going to go 1 through 5. Possibly in the top 3. And the big thing is the Warriors are also looking for a big man. So the way these first 3 picks play out are going to set up the whole draft, because I think that if the Hornets trade up from 3 to 1 to take Wiseman, I don't think that they pulled the trigger on Okongwu at 2. I don't think they're going to go with the point guard like LaMelo Ball at 2. And I think that the rumors are the Bulls might trade up with them. So now the Bulls will trade up from like 4 or 5. Well, there are 4. The Bulls will trade up from 4 to go to 2 in order to take a guy like Lonzo, because I'm hearing they really like Lonzo, and they might trade a big man like Wendell Carter to the Warriors. And if that sets up, okay, then I think there's a good possibility that boom, then you're gonna have a guy like LaMelo go 2. Then at 3, you'll probably see the Timberwolves still take Anthony Edwards. Then at 4, you'll have another re-roll where you're going to sit there and you're looking at the Warriors again. And I think that the Warriors, again, could probably trade down, get another asset, and still keep their pick. All of this just leads to the Knicks being in a situation where it really depends on how these picks go, what trades go down. Because if you're asking me, the top prospect that I'm looking at, I wanted Okongwu, and he's literally flown up the boards over the last couple of days. Lonzo Ball's great, but I don't really see him falling down that low. Two guys realistically that I love. They're both point guards. One is Killian Hayes. He's the number 1 player that I would pretty much want if I had a guard. I don't think Lonzo falls that low. So Killian Hayes is pretty much my number 1 guard that I see. Followed by number 2 is Tyrese Halliburton. Now, with Halliburton, he has a little bit of a weird jump shot, but he's a good defender. He's a good shooter, and I hear that the Warriors really like him. So I think that's part of the reason why the Warriors may be trading back. And if the Warriors trade back and they take a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, and the Bulls trade up and they take a guy like LaMelo, I think it sets up the Knicks for a dream scenario where Killian Hayes falls to us at 8. Some people have Killian Hayes as being the number 1 prospect in this draft. He's like 6'4" out of France. Okay, the problem is he's not the most polished. He's going to need some time to develop. but he's a
But
player.
my fear with some of these the KP experience, I feel like we had such a franchise player
Mhm.
played here 2 years, his developmental years. We gave him a platform, the mecca, right, of basketball. Come
Mhm.
play in New York City, played in the bright lights, and then went out and partnered up with another talent in another big city that's probably a little bit more ready than we are. So I feel like I have that fear in maybe another European player.
Well, I mean that's kind of like a whole different scenario as well because I mean with
Is
the
it though? Is it? Is
yeah
it? Why
it is
is it a whole different?
because first of all like just because he was a foreign born player doesn't mean
No,
that a
right.
homegrown guy from
I
USA
don't want
wouldn't do
to
the
sound like
same kind of move.
I
Um,
only mean it, I guess, because I guess I don't know. I meant it more from if some excuse me, the college players. Um, you get drafted to the team you play, and I feel like they do last a little bit longer than those couple
I
years. And
mean,
those,
I don't really think
I don't know.
that you're seeing that because you see a lot of the other foreign guys, all throughout the line. They pretty much stay with their team. It's all just depending on scenario. And again,
Right.
that was a situation where the Knicks front office and KP really didn't see eye to eye. KP's brother wanted more power than the Knicks wanted to give him. Long story short, KP is also super injury prone. So it's not like
No, right. I'm not saying,
he,
but he's a great player. Great
he is
player.
a great player, but he can't stay on the floor. So what does that mean for us if we can't? And then the other thing is, I mean, we honestly didn't win that trade. We lost that trade, but
Big time.
we did get some assets out of it, and we have a future pick that's coming up, which will be another shot to get something out of it. But at the end of the day, I really can't fault them for the KP deal because at that point in time, if we didn't trade him at that point in time when we
We were
traded
gonna
him
get
at that
nothing for him.
deadline, he was up for his extension. We would have had to give him the super max extension. And if you look at it this year, he came in, he got hurt again. Now,
Yeah,
is that what was to say what would happen with the Knicks or how it would have worked? But we got somebody else. Maybe. Was he a great player? Yes. Did I like KP from the moment we drafted him? I thought he was the guy. But at the
yeah,
same point in time, it was a shitty front office situation, and we didn't have a good game plan, and everything wasn't rolling properly. The difference is with Leon Rose, this is his now first offseason with the Knicks. He took over in the middle of last season. He was an agent, so it's a little different now. He has a lot
yeah.
more
I
time.
mean, maybe I'm misjudging that, but I think having that bad experience with
Yeah,
KP,
I do think it was a bad experience.
well,
But
as a fan, it was.
yeah,
To me, as a fan, it was because you're expecting that you got you gamble on a guy, and then the guy turns out to be a really great player, and then he ends up getting shipped to another city because he didn't want to stay in New York, and obviously that talks to the turmoil that has been our New York Knicks. So just from that perspective, I mean, the guy that you're looking at draft wise is one of those guys like RJ, right? I feel like RJ, the moment he came in here, he wanted to embrace the city, he wanted to be a New York Knick for longer than those, I forget what those rookie deals are.
KP wanted the same thing. It really came down to the front office and his brother. His brother wanted more power. They didn't want to give it to him. And then that started the thing. And then with his rehab, he didn't want to rehab with the team. And then that started the friction. And then he basically asked to be traded. And they were like, we're ready to get rid of you because you're becoming too much of a diva. So, I mean, I just.
Yeah, no, I got you. And I wasn't trying to
It was
just
a
make
bad
it all.
situation.
Yeah, and
It
I
was a
wasn't
bad
trying to make
situation.
it all about. I think that what's happened for so many years, that's the most freshest wound. So for me, is where do we go from here? And that's why getting your perspective on what you think for the draft and what we might do. Just I'm just thinking of it a lot more cautiously. I think than because you sound a lot more confident about what this draft is going to bring to the team. So is that? I mean, do you feel
Well, I
confident in
mean,
what?
it's not that I'm confident. It's just that it's not that I'm confident. Well, I mean, I do think that we're going to get a pretty good player at 8. But it's not like the best draft. Like I think KP will still be better than anyone that we're getting at 8. I'm not going to sit
Yeah,
here and tell you that KP
of
won't be
course.
better because
Of
KP
course.
definitely will be better more than likely than whoever we take at 8. But it is a situation where we want to get the best player available. We want to keep
Right.
building our assets up and start getting these players and get them playing better than they were playing, in other places or as they were younger, like guys like Frank Ntilikina and Knox. They are two guys who so far have underperformed with us. They're young guys with a lot of talent. We took them, I believe, 7th and 8th respectively in their drafts. They have a pretty good upside, but they never delivered on their promises. Now, over this offseason, we've seen these guys really work out pretty hard, and we're going to see if their hard work comes to fruition during the season. But I think at the end of the day, we need to keep building more assets around Mitchell and RJ in order to get us to that point where we can actually go out for a free agent and say, hey, if we get you as a free agent, you're not going to be on an island by yourself. We have all these other pieces and parts here where you're going to fit in perfectly and we're going to be able to move forward. And I don't think it's going to be that far off before the Knicks are competitive, but I don't think that this is going to be the year for us to even try to be competitive.
Well,
like if we're competitive, it's cool and all, but I wouldn't sit here and be like, as a Knicks fan, saying, I want to make the playoffs, and if we don't make the playoffs, this is a horrible year, and what is this franchise doing? Because no, this is a year where
I'm going to hold you to that.
What?
I said, I've heard those rants from you before, so I'm going to hold you to it.
No, yeah, absolutely. But if you look at this context of the season, the season starts December 22nd, right? Training camp starts December 1st, right? We have 20 days basically where Tom Thibodeau is going to have his team to get them ready to compete in the NBA. And guess what? We have a whole bunch of young guys and we have a whole bunch of new people, and it's the first time running the system. And in our division, we have the Nets, we have the Celtics, we have the 76ers, and we have the I'm missing one team. It's the Nets, the Sixers, the Celtics. Oh yeah, the Celtics, and these guys are all good, solid playoff teams. Toronto Raptors, that's the team I'm missing. The Toronto Raptors, the former champions. So there's a lot of good players that we're going to be facing all year long, and I think that this is where we want to develop. This is development year.
So you're not ready to really give a win projection, is what you're saying?
Win projection? No. I mean, because we got to see what we do in free agent, because there's a chance that we could trade this pick in order to get Chris Paul. We could end up doing something on that end. There's a lot of rumors that the Knicks
are trading a pick that could improve the team over the longevity of the team for CP. That what's got 2 years left on his deal, max deal. I know we don't have much on the books, so it's not necessarily gonna.
I think it depends on what they're looking for. I'm not giving them 8. Maybe I'd give him 8 if it's a flop, and I'm giving up some extra contracts, so I'm getting something else back. Like
I do that deal if CP is gonna finish his career in New York.
Well, I mean, you got him for 2 years, and his old agent was the new GM for the Knicks.
Yeah, so but that's what I'm saying. Like, why would you take that possible future great or good player or a good piece, as you're saying?
Well, I'm not trading 8 for him, is what I'm saying. I'm not trading 8 unless we're doing it in like a swap. Like if I'm doing it a swap where maybe I'll give you 8 and you give me 15 back or 14. Wherever their pick is, maybe something like that might go down. But overall, I'm not going to give up the number 8 pick for CP3 unless I'm giving up no other assets, and I'm able to basically it's just basically like CP3 for this 8th pick, and they'll give me another later pick later. I'll do that. If you're telling me we're swapping picks and I get CP3, that makes sense to the Knicks, okay? Because we can afford to eat that salary, and you'll help our young players develop. But I'm not in a situation where I'm going to give up multiple assets, where I'm not going to give up a Knox, 2 first-round picks, and some other things like it's been projected. I'm not doing that. If they want to take Dennis Smith Jr. and Julius Randle for Paul, I'll do that in a heartbeat. Then I'll draft someone like a Isaac Okoro or Devin Vassell, who are small forwards who are great defenders that can shoot, and I would take my chances on getting something like that.
It's hard to see OKC just not taking CP3 for another year with how close and competitive they were.
They can't afford it. They're a small market team, and with everything that happened with COVID, it just doesn't make sense. Plus, you still have Shea Gilchrist Alexander on that team, and they have a ton of future picks going forward from teams.
CP went off this year, though.
What happened?
CP went off this year though.
Yeah,
He
but
had 11 points.
I don't see it as being a good move for the Thunder to keep CP3 for another year to go where. That
Well,
team
they were close. I mean, they took
weren't close. They shouldn't have even been there. Let's be real. They shouldn't have even been there.
That's the point of what I'm trying to make. I
Yeah.
mean, they made that series competitive, and they took
Right.
it to 7 games and could have really been right there. I mean,
Houston is being dismantled.
Who?
Houston, the team that they lost to, is being dismantled. Like
Yeah,
Westbrook is already going to be traded. They're talking about maybe him coming to the Knicks. They're talking about him maybe with the Bulls. They're talking about him.
You talking about Westbrook?
Westbrook, yeah, Westbrook from Houston's going to be
traded. I mean, the coach didn't say that he wants them intact, is what he said from the first interview he had with Stephen A. So from the perspective of what
Westbrook wants out.
Oh, he said he wants out.
Yeah, he already wants out, and
that's what he said.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a bad situation. Where is Westbrook gonna go? Where's he gonna land? What's he gonna
go? Like, see now this is why Chicago is going to be a huge player in this draft, because they could easily trade for Russell Westbrook. They could easily trade for the number 2 pick. They have assets and they have good young players, but they have a lot of black backcourt players, and they just got whatchamacallit, the old coach from the Thunder. So they have Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan is the head coach of the Bulls, and the Bulls have a lot of talent on that team. Wendell Carter, Lauri Markkanen. They have Zach LaVine. They drafted Colby White last year. Colby White has shown some flashes of being a great scorer. So they have some assets on this team. I think that getting a guy like Westbrook could make sense on that team because they do have some shooters, especially like a Lauri, who's a big man that could take it outside to open up the lane for him to take it to the rack. So I do think that would be an interesting team or combination for him. But for the Knicks in this draft, I really think it's really going to come down to just kind of like I don't want them to reach for a point guard. Although I do hear that they've been interested in a guy like Kyra Lewis. Who's I forgot where he's from, Arkansas, I want to say. Kyra is kind of like that guy in case of all the point guards got taken up that we would go for. I think it's a little bit too early for him. I think that from what I'm hearing, maybe an Obi Toppin might fall out of Dayton, and Obi Toppin plays the 4. He's more of a stretch guy. He can shoot it. He's athletic. He can score. His defense is a little suspect, but I think he'd fit well with Mitchell Robinson up front. I think that's a nice 4-5 combination, and then you can have Obi kind of backing up at the 5, play a small ball 5. We want to go fast. We want to go quick, because I feel like in this NBA, you need to be able to change it up. You need to be able to hang with the big teams like the Lakers, and you need to be able to switch it up with a team like the Warriors that want to run and gun and play a smaller style basketball where they don't have a traditional big out there.
So I'll use a sales analogy that I'm model that I'm very tired of hearing. But so what do you say is the low hanging fruit for the Knicks this season and in this draft? So two-parter there, right? Like, how do you think any one of these players that you've just mentioned is going to improve the team? And then ultimately, what's the end result? I mean, if it's not winning a chip, obviously, with this team.
No, the team is not a playoff team. It's not a playoff team.
So what's the end result? Improve.
What the goal of the season is to keep building a cohesive unit. The goal of this season is to develop the young players that we have, to develop a Mitchell Robinson, develop an RJ Barrett, to develop a Frank Ntilikina, develop Knox. Those are priorities for developing this season. For the pick that I want to get another pick to add to the core that we have. So we have a bunch of different players. We have I would love a shooter like Devi. To me, he's going to be in the top 5, but he's the kind of guy that I would love for the Knicks to get. But it's so confusing to most people right now because there's a lot of smoke signals going up. They could honestly make a trade up. I could see the Knicks trading up, maybe trading to 3, maybe trading to 4. Maybe trading to 6 because the Hawks are also talking about possibly dealing their pick as well. I could see the Hawks and the Warriors making a really good move, and then maybe the Warriors and the Knicks making another move. But if we're in that range, I think the low-hanging fruit is we kind of want to hope that we get Killian Hayes as our number 1 guy because he's a young playmaker that is not going to be ready right now, but you're going to be able to develop him with the team and get him NBA ready as far as his body's concerned, making making decisions and stuff like that, where next year he'll be able to be in a really good footing, and we might get a more NBA ready type rookie, because next year's draft class is really, really good. Another player that I like, I was just talking about Obi Toppin, if he might fall, because some boards have him falling. And then the guy that I think might fall to us is Okoro. Okay, a lot of people are talking about Okoro because he's a really good defensive player. He's probably one of the best defensive players in the draft. He's one of the guys that everyone thinks that Golden State is targeting. It's either Isaac Okoro or Tyrese Halliburton. I think those are the two guys that everyone thinks that if Golden State trades down, those are the guys that they're going to be targeting. So they want to go with something in the top 10, in that portion of it. So I think Golden State makes a deal. I think that maybe we could be the partner, but I think more than likely we're not. And I think if everything plays out, there's a good chance that Hayes is going to fall to us, Toppin is going to fall to us, and if none of those two guys are there, Halliburton would be the third pick, but he has a funky shooting motion. But overall, I think he'd be good for the team. And then the fourth guy, that if he's there, and these are all guys again that I'm assuming that would be there. Obviously, if Lonzo Ball's there, I'm taking Lonzo Ball. That's like a no-brainer. But like I'm saying, of guys that might be in that range, the fourth guy, Patrick Williams. He's a small forward, power forward type guy. I know he's gotten the attention of a lot of people. He went from being like an end of the lottery to like possibly between 5 and 10 now, this kid. He's a little bit more raw as well. He needs more time to develop his game and his shot, but he has a man body already. He's a big, versatile defender that can shoot and can score, but he just needs more time to keep building on his game, working on the shot and working on at the rim. I hear that the Boston Celtics and the San Antonio Spurs have been interested in this guy. I know that he probably won't.
I gotta correct that you continue to say throughout this whole podcast, Lonzo, and it's not Lonzo.
It's LaMelo. I get the balls confused, but
and I'm like, am I crazy or is he calling him Lonzo? But
yeah,
you give a top down a lot of A through D strategies as to where you think the Knicks should go on this draft, and I like your perspective from a Knicks fan, obviously, but also from grade levels on the draft. Like if we get this guy, this is the high level. If we get this guy, this is the high level. So I like your thought process behind that. Mm-hmm. I think this is a topic that we might need to come back and touch on once once the draft obviously actually happens. So it is something that I think we give a lot of people food for thought on some of your analysis on it.
And I think as we get closer to the draft also, because right now we're 1 week away, so we're going to start seeing more of these smoke signals coming up. And sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. So like right now there's the fire around Westbrook. Obviously, if we make a trade for like a Paul before the draft, it's going to completely alter what we're looking for, because then maybe a guy like Kyra just doesn't make sense, or a guy like the French kid Killian Hayes, where we might sit there and be like, yeah, let's take Devin Vassell because he's a shooting guard who could shoot, but he's a really good defender with a good wingspan, because we already have Chris Paul as our playmaker, we have Mitchell as our big, and then we'll go out into free agency and sign somebody else because we have a lot of money. And I think Christian Wood is one of the guys that they're looking at, but obviously you're not going to sign a Christian Wood if Obi Toppin falls to you. So there's so many dominoes that are coming, and obviously and the cool thing is that the free agency starts 2 days after the draft. So it's like you're going to be able to draft first and see who you get, and then make your free agency picks accordingly. Or it's like if you go into with an idea of a couple of guys that you want in free agency, then you can know, okay, guess what? I don't need to draft this position, because we do have another pick in the second half of the first round, or the back half of the first round. I should say we pick like 27th because we have the Clippers pick. And over there, I hear they're looking for like a physical big man, someone that could play up front. So obviously they're looking there for like a backup center, someone that can play 5, that can give a spell to Mitch if he's down. And I think that sets up more for them looking at a guard in that early pick. I think they're going to get a guard or a wing more than likely. I think more than likely Obi Toppin, Okongwu, and what's his face, Wiseman Whiteman.
Yeah.
All of them are going to be gone by 8. I think all 3 big men are gone by 8. I think that the Hornets are going to get one of them. I think that the more than likely the Warriors are going to get a big man. And I think the rumors are that Cleveland has been looking at a big man, which to me doesn't make sense because they already have Kevin Love and they've already have Andre Drummond. I know that both their contracts are expiring soon, but for them to get another big man just kind of doesn't make sense. Like I see them as being the team that probably should be trading out of the first round, getting some more assets for another year, or trying to trade off some of those guys. But I think those 3 big men are pretty much gone. And I think that you're probably going to be looking at a guy like Tyrese Halliburton that's going to be there. You're looking at maybe a Killian Hayes that's going to be there. I've seen a lot of mock drafts where Killian Hayes gets taken by the Pistons, the pick right before us. So I think that that's something that we could be looking at for a heartbreak. And that's kind of what I've been projecting is that the Pistons will end up taking him and we might get left with Tyrese Halliburton, who – a lot of people have him a lot higher than I do. Tyrese Halliburton, a lot of people like. I know the Warriors really like him because he's a 3-and-D guy. He just has this really funky shooting motion, which a lot of scouts are saying that they don't know his ability to get his shot off the ball, or because his windup is so weird that it's going to take too long that the defender will be able to close out and play it off. But like as a set shot, he's good. He's fine because his motion, everything's a little funky, but obviously if he's able to get it off with, enough time, he's going to be fine. But I think that's the biggest worry about him. But a lot of people, they love him and they think he could be one of the best guards in the draft. But I think he's going to probably be the guy that falls to us, if I had to say, which I'm not really liking. I'm really hoping that Killian falls to us. But I just think that too many people are too high on this kid. He's a big-bodied individual who can create plays for others, and a lot of people have him as the second best playmaker in the draft, right after LaMelo.
So I think you've given us a lot of things to think about from the perspective as a Knicks fan and as an NBA fan. You gave us more than just what the Knicks would happen. Really, that domino effect that you were talking about.
Right. That's the biggest thing.
Definitely. And so as the draft leads up, definitely, we'd love for you guys to come back and check out a couple of the other episodes we're going to put out. But Taco's really saying it's going to be the big men top heavy for at least this year.
Well, I think that the three big men will go in the top 8. Mm-hmm. I think that you're also still looking at 2 of the top players in this draft. Anthony Edwards, I think by most people's standards, they have him or LaMelo as being the number 1 prospect in this draft. Yeah. And I think that there's a good chance that we're going to see them it's so weird because if Minnesota stays there, I think Minnesota takes Anthony Edwards number 1, right? And then number 2 goes Wiseman, and then number 3, Charlotte maybe makes a deal, and then so on and so forth. Right. But if Charlotte makes the move up initially and Charlotte snags Wiseman number 1, then I don't know what Golden State does, and Golden State then might be the one that's trading down, and then we might see the domino effect. Or Devi Abdia, the kid from Israel, he might sneak up there. He's a top 4 prospect. I think he's the first guy that goes after the big 3. Obviously, the big 3: Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, and James Wiseman. Those are the big 3. Wiseman's the big man. Melo is the point guard, and Edwards, they're comparing him to Dwayne Wade. He signed with Clutch Sports, so that's with LeBron James's agency and everything like that. He's getting a lot of hype, but those are the big 3. And I think right after that is Devi. You got guys like Halliburton. That's where you're going to see Ukangu, the kid from USC. That's the kid that I really wish if one could fall to us. He's a big man. He's 6'9". He could shoot the 3. He could block. He could pass. He's like a Bam Adebayo. If that kid could fall to us, I'm happy. But I think that if it's a situation where number 1 pick goes of Wiseman, I could see maybe him going at like 3 or something like that. Or if 1 goes Edwards, 2 goes Wiseman to the Warriors, I see a 3. If the Hornets stay there, the Hornets could maybe draft Okongu. And then number 4 would probably be either Ball or Devi. And then you're looking at a situation where the Knicks just maybe hoping that they're not left with Halliburton over Killian Hayes, because
that was a sigh of a long, you know, long few years.
Yeah,
The
like to
draft
me,
always going that way for us.
yeah,
So it
like
does happen that way.
like what that would feel like is the year that the Knicks got Steph Curry taken right before them. Like you remember that? It was like
Yes.
if we could just
Who
get
doesn't
past
remember that year?
that, that's what I feel like this draft's gonna be like.
Well, I say we leave it there for him, Taco. We give him a little bit more to come back to, and check us out on another analysis on the draft. Obviously,
Absolutely.
basketball is right around the corner again, guys. So
Yep.
for sure, we appreciate you guys joining in on not just our basketball analysis on the draft, but definitely don't miss the start sit with Taco.
Yep.
Usually Hammer sometimes as well. So definitely check us out this Sunday. And yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll be back to give you a little bit more breakdown on the draft. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe the video. We really appreciate you guys. Honestly, we really do. Hope your families are safe out there with all the COVID situation going on. Anything you got for them?
No, I mean I think it's gonna be a long week. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be scary, and I hope we do well. But until next time, everyone, peace.